My testosterone was very low. I think it was around like in the 200. Before, I didn't really know any different.
Like the
200, 300s, but I didn't really, that was just my regular state of being. And just optimizing more sleep, I think really helped. Actually increasing my muscle mass, I think helped a lot. And lifting heavier, lifting in a more structured and having a better program, I think helped a lot. So I think that was the biggest changes.
I'm Todd, Vande, CEO of Stark, and I've gone from vegan to paleo to keto to carnivore, from cryo saunas to ice baths, to training like an athlete, to being injured like one, enhancing my mobility and optimizing my sex hormones with thousands of labs and various forms of scans. I'm surrounded by high-level medical doctors, naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, nutritionists, and strength coaches, all leading me in concert to a state of optimal health. And I'm here to share what I've done with you, regardless of your age, your genes, or your medical conditions. Today's guest is someone who, if I'm being honest, makes me feel like I need to step up my game. His name is Drew Valentine. He's one of the coaches at Stark. And within our naturopathic team, there used to be sort of a running joke that I was the perfect naturopathic man. I got 8 hours of sleep at night. I trained, I ate cleanly, I did my mobility work, I meditated, I even got in my zone 2 cardio, which is where most of our staff kind of trips up. But then came Drew. Not only does he do all of that, he's younger, his skin is flawless, and he's got that long, like Disney prince type hair that somehow fits perfectly with his permanently calm and smiling face. He's really a remarkable young guy. But what's most impressive isn't the aesthetics. It's the fact that Drew has transformed himself entirely since arriving at Stark. He came from a yoga background. He lived a vegan lifestyle, had the body composition that matched. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't nearly as good as you possibly can get. And since then, he's become an absolute powerhouse. His strength, hormones, cardiovascular health, and focus have all dramatically improved, even his sleep. But he's done it without losing that peaceful, I would describe him as others-focused presence that makes him such a magnetic personality. Today, we're going to dig into that calm confidence and his, what I would describe as his disposition advantage, and explore what changed when he added structure, science, and strength to his already very, very mindful life. So you arrived at Stark, how long ago?
It's been about 3 years now.
3 years? Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
It's gone by so quickly.
So quickly, yeah, in a flash.
Let's kind of talk about the state in which you arrived at Stark. What was going on in your life? What was your health like?
Yeah, I had my own business, so I was working independently as a yoga teacher and personal trainer. And I think I was always working on my health in terms of eating right and high enough protein, and always trying to better my health. But that's when I found Stark, and actually Stark found me. Amir actually reached out to me. I don't even remember putting my resume on Indeed,
how did that happen?
Which is funny.
Huh.
Yeah.
Divine intervention.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, this seems like a really cool, unique place. So I came by and stopped by, met the team, and something just clicked within me. I was like, this is the place I want to work. This is the place I want to be. So actually, there wasn't really any inclination of changing anything at the moment. It was just kind of like just being open to certain things, and finding Stark, and I was like, this is when I spend my time and learn more in, because I found that I could see a lot of potential here.
So let's talk all about your health, if you don't mind getting intimate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you consider the wheel of health as an example, when you arrived, how would you describe your body composition?
I would say I've always been naturally more lean, and so I was definitely more skinny, maybe even a little bit more skinny fat, I would say.
Do you remember what your first DEXA scan looked like?
I think my first DEXA scan may have been closer to like 15%.
Okay.
Body fat. I don't remember exactly my lean muscle.
So like definitely better than average.
But yeah, I guess better than average, right? But
you have a sense of what your total weight was like?
I think I was around 180.
180?
Yeah, now I'm about 192.
Oh, okay.
But I've decreased body fat and increased lean muscle mass.
Okay.
So Stark is definitely.
And because, I mean, how old were you when you first started at Stark?
Let's see. So that was 3 years ago. So I was like 26.
Okay.
Yeah, or
So
20. Yeah,
you're a young man, your cardiovascular health was great.
yeah.
What was your strength like as compared to now?
So it was my style of training before Stark wasn't really necessarily lifting super heavy.
Uh-huh.
It was more like body weight. I love calisthenics. I did a lot of yoga, and I would lift. I was lifting weight, free weights and stuff like that. But I guess my knowledge and understanding of programming now, looking back, and I have an exercise science degree, but now looking back, it's funny. It's like I don't know much actually, which is kind of funny. It's funny actually. The first year I was at Stark, I learned more than I have all 4 years in college in my exercise science degree.
It makes sense. What we do is practical.
Yeah,
You learn in school a lot of what's theoretical.
yeah,
Right? And academia tends to be a decade behind because there's no competition, or there's very little competition in
right.
academia. And we have to remain on the cutting edge. So we just have to constantly be learning and
Constantly.
evolving. Let's talk about your hormones.
Mhm.
What was that like when you first arrived? I'm assuming you got tested
Yeah,
maybe 6 months after you started,
yeah.
thereabout?
I would say about a few months after I
Okay.
started. So yeah, my testosterone was very low. I think it was around like in the 200s.
Oh, did you feel it?
And no, I didn't. Well, before I didn't really know any difference. It was 200, 300s, but I didn't really. That was just my regular state
Okay.
of being. And then the doctors got me on supplement protocol. Obviously no TRT.
Yeah,
I was
you're
just
so young. Yeah.
doing naturally, and just optimizing more sleep. I think really helped. Actually, increasing my muscle mass, I think helped a lot, and lifting heavier, lifting in a more structured and having a better program, I think helped a lot. So I think that was the biggest changes. And now my last results was around 700, 800.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So very, very
Optimal.
It's close to optimal, totally natural.
Yeah.
You're a young man. You should be able to get there on your own.
Should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I was so low going in.
And when you started, you said you started sleeping more when you started working at Stark. What was the reason you weren't sleeping more before?
I don't know necessarily was necessarily a bad sleeper, but I think I learned more about how to enhance my sleep and how to better my sleep
Okay.
in terms of supplements, in terms of decreasing blue light and down regulating my nervous system better, working with some of the naturopathic doctors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have a better sleep hygiene in general.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that helped in general and increasing overall quantity and quality of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm assuming things like your detoxification pathways were perfectly fine when you arrived. Your gut health, any issues there?
I wouldn't say no issues with gut health or digestions or anything like that. Yeah, I was always been a pretty good eater, and internal health has always been really good. That's something that I've always been fascinated with, nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just Stark has helped me really again optimize
Sure.
my nutrition.
Well, let's talk about nutrients for a minute. So
sure.
again, we're just talking about like the first 6 months. How were you eating when you arrived at Stark? What was your nutrition like?
Definitely not enough protein. I used to be vegetarian a few years before Stark. I had slowly introduced meat, and I thought was focusing more and more on protein, but learning
Like what kind of protein?
just beef, chicken, fish, and I had strayed away from the alternative meats and soy and all that when I was thinking I was healthy.
Okay, so that was like in your early 20s you were doing that.
So yeah,
Mid 20s you started eating some animal-based protein.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And supplements or anything back then?
Not too much focus on the supplements,
just food.
and just food. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't have.
You have a sense of. I'm assuming you were not measuring your macros back then. Do you have a sense of how much you were eating?
Every now and then I would, but not frequently. No.
Okay.
So I was definitely under eating, and that's also working with some of the health coaches, realizing I was under eating quite substantially.
Oh, really? Like,
yeah.
Can you give a sense of estimate of?
And realizing with my maintenance is a lot higher than I thought. So maybe when thought I was in a surplus, actually my maintenance is a lot higher. And so to get even in a surplus was a lot more than I thought. And at first it was a real struggle getting that much food. It was really like almost disgusting trying to eat that much.
That's funny because you were so used to something.
But so used to it. But now I can truly feel it in my body. If I'm not eating enough, I'm just feeling worn out. My body feels it. Performance in the gym is not there. cognitively not there. So, and that's paired with the protein, right?
So
protein.
if you were to guess what your protein intake was like in terms of grams pre-Stark, what was that?
I would say it was probably definitely below my body weight in grams. I would say, but now realizing that I need to at least be there, and actually for someone who is highly active, right, needs to be even beyond that, right? And so I definitely was not there. Yeah.
And how about your orthopedic health when you arrived? I'm assuming it was just like spot on.
Yeah, that's again, that's something that I always, with yoga, I always was mindful of, stretching and mobilizing my body. And if something, I feel like I always had a good sense of my body, in tune with my body, being also an athlete growing up. I think I always had a good sense of orthopedic health. If something was injury backing off, I never was really pushing too far past what I probably should be doing. Well, maybe actually I played football in high school, and in football culture, it's definitely go as hard as you possibly can. It's not about the quality or technical, going from point A to B. It's just as much weight as you can.
But when you arrived at Stark, you moved very well. Right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, better. But now, yeah.
And then let's talk about the state of your mental well-being when you arrived.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Oh, that's something I always wanted to work on more and was conscious about was meditation.
You did
was yoga.
Like, when did you start that?
I started that actually senior year of high school.
Okay, a long time ago.
So a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually was introduced, funny enough, in football. I had a football coach.
Really?
He was our quarterback coach. He was kind of a hippie. He had like a ponytail. And during our two-a-days during the summer camp, he would sneak in a yoga class for us which is kind of funny enough.
That is funny.
And that's how I got introduced to yoga and mindfulness, was through football. And
interesting.
And I started to do yoga and meditate before my games, actually. And I realized that really helped my performance of just being more calm and centered before my games. So
you were always just sort of, you worked on your ability to be chill.
Yeah, definitely worked on
as a young athlete.
As a young athlete,
and that's carried through to today, right?
I would say so, and even to this day, I would, you might even see me as a pretty chill guy. A lot. That's not what's happening.
Oh, really?
Internally all the time, and so that's especially growing up, I was more of a shy. I wouldn't consider myself a chill guy. I was more of I was just quiet in terms of, and that was related to more anxiousness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So and do you still have that experience of anxiety today?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the thoughts are there, but I would say it's less impactful to me because of practice with mindfulness.
Yeah, it seems like it. Okay, so just to summarize, when you arrived at Stark, your body composition was okay. It wasn't like ideal as a 26-year-old.
Yeah.
That's about how old you were?
I would say, yeah.
So you had all the tools in the toolbox as a 26-year-old that you needed to have exceptional body composition. Yeah. You had youth on your side.
Right.
You still have it.
Yeah.
And then your cardiovascular health was pretty good.
I would say pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your strength was probably a little bit above average.
Probably around average. Yeah.
Your hormones were shit.
Yeah.
To summarize.
Very much. Yeah.
Your sleep recovery and stress was probably pretty good without the oversight of a professional team, right? Like you were healthy and it wasn't a problem, but it wasn't necessarily optimized.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment?
I would say that's a fair assessment.
Okay.
When I got into Stark, I was just more about learning more and getting deeper and deeper, more in depth with health.
Yeah.
And it was actually opened up a whole different world of health that I actually wasn't even aware of, even though that's something that even out of high school, I was always super fascinated and wanted to learn and educate myself. And, through college, learning more about exercise science, but going through Stark, it's been just a whole new revelation.
So then your detoxification and gut health, you arrived pretty solid. It remains solid.
Yeah.
Your nutrients were a little bit not quite optimized.
Right. Yeah.
Now they're optimized. We'll talk about what optimization means in a minute for our guests. Your orthopedic health was exceptional.
Yeah.
So that's something that you've been able to hold on to, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And your mental well-being was like you're trending in the right direction, independent of anything you learned at Stark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you were definitely heading in the right direction and already advanced especially for a 26-year-old. Is that fair to say?
Sure. But I think focusing on the wheel of health also helped that even more, right? Because as we know, if one spoke is off, then the rest of the wheel, it's hard to get the rest of the wheel going. It's hard to get that wheel rolling, right? And so I think really strengthening each spoke really helped getting all, and I don't think everyone's 100% in each axle.
No,
I think it's
no
working on.
But you arrived with some really solid, advanced, in terms of measurements, spokes in the wheel of health.
Yeah.
And you needed to course correct some things and advance the other ones that were sort of straggling.
Right.
And it seems like you very easily grabbed onto those and implemented pretty well, which at this stage puts you in the category of, I would say, the what's the term that your NMDs used to call me, the perfect naturopathic man? Yeah. I think that you're the new perfect naturopathic man, because I'm not I have dents in my wheel, and you're just, I think, nice and smooth.
I got
so you're the ideal functional medicine patient or naturopathic man.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what that actually looks like, or what that means.
Yeah.
So your body composition has transformed a lot. Like, I've watched you.
Yeah.
And because I see you so frequently. I remember coming into the gym on a Saturday or whatever, and you were doing like super heavy squats, like your ass was almost on the floor at the bottom. And I was just like, what the hell happened to this guy?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we'll talk about strength in a minute. We're talking about body composition now. So you arrived at roughly mid-teens, and where are you today?
I'm at low nines.
Low nines. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's an elite young athlete.
Yeah.
That's where you are. And has it been hard for you to get there? Has it been a lot of sacrifice?
I think initially it was just learning more about habit. It was more about eating. Again, eating enough, which is kind of funny. It's more paradoxical thinking of like eating enough. It's confusing, right? But it was so funny. It was like the more I ate, the more I lost in terms of body fat, if everything else was adhering in terms of
the macros were right.
Macros were right. And steps, cardio, and my strength training was all there.
And your sleep was good.
Sleep was, exactly. So all that has
affects your hormones and.
Right.
Yeah, which we'll get to in a minute. So, so your body composition is just, I mean, you're done. Like that's a full 10. There's nowhere else to go. I mean, just for the fun of it, you can go a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But there's always in that optimal sweet spot. So if you can be here at 90, I wonder how long you're going to live, just from a body composition perspective. There's no problems associated with that. Like, you're never going to end up as a diabetic as you get older, or start having problems with mobility because you're continually work on that, which again we'll get in a minute, because that's not necessarily just body composition. Let's talk about cardiovascular health. You have some sense of how you're doing there, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Lipids probably look great, and all those things that turn into problems as you get older are probably thumbs up. What about things like HRV and resting heart rate?
Yeah, that's something that once I started wearing the Oura ring, it's always been fair, I think, pretty fair and good. I think that's, again, working with some of the health coaches and some of the doctors on the team, is how to even get that to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's in a good point, right?
I would expect so. I mean, it's also propped up by your mental well-being, by the improved quality of sleep, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I mean, you've got a lot of things that are indirectly affecting your cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
And how about strength? So we talked a little bit about me walking in, you blowing my mind about when you're doing squats, like super heavy, perfectly executed deep squats, which is just such a shock to me, because you've got yogi mobility. Yeah. Right. And now you have exceptional, like, athletic strength, which is a rare combination, which is so fascinating to me. Like, all the things you have going on, it's like, these are the ideal outcomes. Mm-hmm. And if you started when you were 50, it might take you 20 years to arrive where you are today. Yeah. Versus maybe 3 years to really get to refining where you are. And so by doing it younger and doing it sooner, you can get there more quickly. Same thing applies to a 40-year-old. If you're not 50 and you're 40 and you go after it, you're going to accomplish it in a much shorter period of time than if you were 50. So the older you get, and the longer, or the more time you spend in a state where you're not optimal, the deeper the grooves get into your body, like the more difficult it is to unwind it. And so you're a really interesting case to me because you started at such a young age. And interestingly, most people that are young and educated, like you, have a degree. And the further the degree, the more advanced the degree, the more opinionated they become, are not willing to be coached. And this is a unique characteristic of you as well. And I hope our listeners let this like kind of sink in, because your job is to lead people. That's what you do for a living. You're a leader in their health journey. And our students, they generally are in the business of leading their people in their businesses, whether it's tech or manufacturing or a law firm or whatever it is. They're also leaders in different fields. But in order to really get on a health journey properly, you have to flip from leader to follower. And you have to do that really effectively.
Absolutely.
And so a concept that I'd like to share with all the leaders that are listening is to be great as a leader too, you need to be a follower as well. You need to learn how to be an exceptional follower.
100%.
And so in areas in which you're not an expert, like you are not an expert in all the spokes of the wheel of health. In some narrow areas you were, but much of them you were not. You approached it like a beginner and you listened and you were coached through it. And 3 years later, bam, this is where you are, like in this new exceptional state that you're going to be able to hold on to forever. So let's talk about hormones. So you mentioned that you came in, it was really quite low. Like that's a sort of dangerously low. That's like 50-year-old dude low, get ready to go on TRT kind of a situation. And that was you.
Right.
And you improved your sleep, you improved your diet. Anything else that you did that you think indirectly impacted your sex hormones specifically?
I think the supplements, getting on the supplements.
Supplements help.
And then also.
But those are foundational.
And just
type supplements.
Really clearing up the foundational aspects of health. And I think it's just skyrocketed, even though I thought
that's 2.5 or 3.5 times what you were before.
Right. And
that's a substantial, that's a different person.
Right.
And I'm assuming that you experienced it fairly quickly when you started removing the blocks that were in the way of your sex hormones becoming optimized.
Right. I think it was, and not only body composition, but I realized I had a lot of brain fog that I even realized beforehand, which was really cool. Because now I'm not forgetting. I used to be so forgetful. I still can be, but I used to be so forgetful, like always leave my keys or phone behind. Like I don't feel like I'm that.
That's how all old men are.
Yeah.
I've been there too. I've been there too.
Right.
Yeah. It's something that most people aren't aware of, which is that sex hormones are primary, or testosterone specifically is primarily a brain hormone. Like the receptors are tightly clustered in our brains and our gonads. But the first experience of optimized testosterone is in your cognition, your ability to think and focus and connect with people even.
100%.
Be present. Be funny. All the things that your brain, when you're really relaxed and your brain is firing on all cylinders. That's what you get when your sex hormones are optimized. And it's so frustrating to me when I see young men, for example, dragging in, and I can see the look on their faces. They have low T. I recognize it. But they don't know it because they have, like you didn't have the basis for comparison.
You never
it happens very slowly.
Right.
Or maybe you never even were there. And then the veil is lifted and boom, you're able to not just change your body composition, which is what most people think testosterone does.
Right.
But rather decide to do the things that are necessary to change your body composition, not just exercise, but have the drive and the discipline and the hope, right? That the things you're doing actually will turn into the outcomes that you want, like eating more protein and going for a walk and meditating and all the things that you've done for so long. Like I'm sure you experienced a little bit of the concept that the optimism attached with doing the things you had to do raised when your testosterone levels came up.
100%. I felt myself being a lot more grateful for just in everyday life, just a lot more gratitude. And that was a lot easier. And that's something that I've had little bouts of depression, right? I think everybody has. It was a lot easier not to let myself fall into those thoughts. And actually, I always thought I wanted to bring up, I always thought I had like ADD and I think I do sometimes have struggle with focus, but
I think everyone does.
I think everyone does nowadays, right? But it was even to the point where it was hard to even have a conversation where my mind would just drift off, right? But even it seems like when optimizing those things, that even was a lot better. I could even have a focus and have a conversation, relate, and like you're saying, be closer to people.
Yeah, because cognition is better.
Cognition.
I mean, your brain is just working really well.
Yeah.
And, I think that you probably always had the desire and the propensity to connect with people well on an emotional level, but you just leveled up.
Yeah.
By sleeping well, eating better, so generally recovering, taking some foundational supplements.
Yeah.
I mean, basic things, right?
Right.
And it's transformational.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I've always loved people, and that's what I found when I started doing yoga. It wasn't that like I was passionate in yoga, but I think I was more passionate about working with people. And so that's what I realized I wanted to do. But I think when I was enhanced all those spokes, I think it allowed me to be more connected with people. It allowed me to do my job in a more deeper way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, let's just skip over to mental well-being and you arriving with the gifts that people get from practicing yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I think that when you arrived, you had this, predisposition to, or ability and ability to connect with people on an emotional level. Very unique to a young man.
Yeah.
Right. Like the way you interact with people it seems like you're not focused on yourself. It's all external.
Yeah. And that's to be able to listen. That is a yin quality.
Yeah.
And to be able, and you need the yang, right? To be able to speak clearly and concise, but also to connect with people, you need to pull back into more of that yin.
Yeah.
Right.
You do.
To be
Yeah.
able to be receptive and be mindful and present to accept other people's ideas. Right.
Actually, to summarize everything, like on your journey, I think you arrived exceptionally well developed in yin. And you added yang.
Yeah, yeah.
Your yang.
Yeah.
I always forget what that is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yin and yang qualities. Right.
Yang. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really rounded out yourself as a young man with those yang qualities.
Right. Yeah.
Things like strength and body composition.
Yeah. And that was the other thing for me. I've kind of I think still that shy, quiet kid is still there, but again, optimizing those things had really helped me to get more in that yang and be a little bit more confident and self-assured of myself.
Okay. So sleep recovery and stress, those have been enhanced. You just merely put in place some tactics that our team coached you on. What did you do?
I think it was learning how to specifically downregulate my nervous system, which was getting rid of blue light, trying to not, and then sometimes
do you wear the sunglasses?
Yeah. So blue light glasses and trying to get in the blackout curtains.
Okay.
Try and do my best not to get on my phone. Sometimes I'm not great at it, but sometimes, but doing your best not to have blue light before bed, not eating too super close to bed, those sort of things. And doing something relaxing, journaling, more reading before bedtime.
Do you ever look at puppy videos on Instagram at night?
No, maybe I should. Is that
flies in the face of not using an electronic device, but this is what Alice does.
Yeah. Okay. Really?
She does it in the morning and right before she goes to bed.
Yeah.
And she's like literally giggling with the cover over her head while she's looking at.
I love that.
And her eyes are so bad that the phone is like up close to her.
Yeah.
It's the strangest thing.
Because the thing is, because the issues of falling asleep, right, is because you get so caught up in things you got to do before, or, the next day, or you're getting stressed out. You can't be stressed out by looking at puppies, right? So I like that.
Yeah. Even though you got the blue light, it balances off with the puppies.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought right there. And I think you're also really good at this, is as you move throughout the course of the day, in order to get the most out of life, to experience the fullness of life, you have to move through the various stages or states that you need to be in to have that full experience, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're at work and if you're an introvert and you're connecting with people all day long, there needs to be some other part where you're able to recover.
Yep.
Right. And so you've applied the tactics through the coaching team to enable you to move into those various stages and be as healthy as you possibly can.
That's really important. And it's funny because our team, we have a great team, but it's funny because you look at our team and you're kind of like, oh, we're all kind of introverts here. But, we have a job that deals with people. And so as introverts dealing with people, that does take a lot of energy out of it. But it's a paradox that as an introvert, but you love dealing with people, you have to be really cognizant, conscious of your energy level. So you have to be extra aware of your energy levels, and you're doing everything you're positive. Sleep has to be there, eating has to be there, everything in terms of recovery has to be there if you want to do this job, right?
Yeah.
Right.
As a fellow introvert, do you think you are drained of energy with one-on-one connection, or is it mostly one on many, like being in a public space?
I think
or is it both?
I think it can be both. I think it's just having I think as an introvert, your battery of just being social is a little bit less. As an extrovert, that battery is a lot more to be able to withstand more social interaction. But for me, it is easier to be one-on-one with people. I think that's excel. But I do like to be in groups, and I'd find that to be rewarding too as well. But more group settings, I would say definitely it's easier to suck more energy.
So from a nutrient standpoint, to arrive where you are today, which is a drastic drop in body fat, like going from 15 to 9% is nothing like going from 21 to 15%.
Mm-hmm.
It's way harder.
Yeah, it is.
It takes a lot more intentionality.
Yeah.
And so as a result, what you're eating has had to have changed a lot.
Yep.
You're probably moving a lot more too, right? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Big
like,
time.
Whether you're calculated with steps, which is not actually just steps, like you're just working all day long, you're moving.
Yeah. It's, the benefit of our job is that you really don't have to, I do still, but you really don't have to look at your steps. You're going to get at least 10,000 steps. You're moving all day. Right.
So you're moving a lot.
It makes it easy, but yeah.
But if you're 12 pounds heavier or so, which is, I think what you said, 192
I would say,
12 pounds heavier, you are, I can't do the math quickly in my head, but you're probably 15 pounds lighter in fat.
Yeah.
It's probably about right.
Maybe around there.
Yeah. Because you are, you have about 17 pounds or 18 pounds of fat on your body. Sure. And you probably arrived at about 30.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a massive change.
Yeah.
So you also must have increased your intake, your dietary intake.
Yeah.
Not just protein, but like a lot of carbohydrates.
Yep.
You eat a lot more than you probably did before.
A lot more, which people are kind of look at what I eat. Somebody in the coaches are like,
a lot of food.
Yeah. They're like, geez, is this what you're having for lunch? Like, yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. So that's changed tremendously.
Yep.
And this is the most interesting thing to me, your orthopedic health.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is true, so you have to jump in and let me know if I'm off.
Sure.
But it seems like your orthopedic health is just as good as it was when you first started.
Yeah.
Would you say?
I would
any
say
injuries, any problems?
Yeah, there's always some injuries from the football days that might creep back up, and actually, funny enough, injuries from my yoga days.
Oh, really?
Creep back up. Yeah, actually, I've
what kind of injuries from that?
Tendonitis in my elbow specifically.
Oh, really?
There was a point where I was doing yoga like every day and like kind of being.
And
stupid
what kind of movements in yoga would you say created that tendonitis?
So just nonstop chaturangas, and then also a lot of arm balance. So I was working on a lot of arm balance and handstands, and at the time I was doing a lot of calisthenics, and so a lot of like body weight.
And so you probably had some structural imbalances while you're doing those pretty intense movements,
right?
That can create that. I can see it,
right? And that was that's before Stark, where someone can tell me how to do that. I probably wasn't doing it properly either, right? Or recovering. If I'm doing those sorts of things, you need to be able to recover properly, right?
So otherwise, how you moved back then, would you say it's as good or better or worse than how you move today?
I would say it's far more intelligent and more in depth type of movement.
Okay.
And in terms of mobility and what that even means. Right.
Okay, so your mobility is improved.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
a bit. Like you showed up and you moved really well. At least that was what it looked like for me.
Yeah.
And now you move even better and are way stronger and have way better body composition.
Yeah.
Because of your sex hormones, most likely, and your sleep quality. Your experience of being alive is way better, right?
Yeah, I would say that's
just
a good
more calm, more energetic. Like you literally have just expanded that wheel closer to the outside of it.
Yeah,
and your mental well-being is the same, right?
Yeah. I and I'm not just saying it just because you're here, but I would say Stark is one of the single best decisions I made. Truly,
I'd love to hear that.
I'm not just saying that, but truly. On a professional level, personal level, just overall health level, right? Mm-hmm. It's just really enhanced.
Well, yeah, we're really fortunate to have you. I think you're a special guy that is so important to me in my role as a CEO of Stark and the founder of Stark is to share this mind-blowing experience of expanding what you believe to be possible with your health, and sharing it with you and others inside of the Stark ecosystem is one of the most fulfilling parts of my job. And so I'm really happy that you jumped in, you followed like you're supposed to follow, and you blew past me. And now you're experiencing the edges better than I am. And I think you're an inspiration from a mental well-being standpoint and an effort level standpoint as a 29-year-old or 29, right? You are absolutely an inspiration to other 29-year-old men. Absolutely. Like, you are on a different road. They need to get on your road, really, because they're thinking something else. They're trying to do things more easily, and you're just going after life, and you're not sacrificing anything, right? You have community, you have intimate personal relationships, you have career success. Right. You're with all day long. You're doing things with people that you care and love. Care about and love. You're doing things for them and with them that are meaningful to you.
That's a really good point. I never even seen it as a sacrifice. And I think that's a misconception.
That's a mental well-being angle that you showed up with. That's not a Stark thing. You showed up with that.
Sure.
I wonder where that came from. Parents? You always have that?
I think my parents definitely help instill a lot of that. Is, health is number one and a priority. But it's also just being a curious. I think I've just always been curious, and I think that's what really had me explore more and more into health and wellness overall. And to want to better myself, and then as I was experiencing better and better health, it was just more of like a feedback loop. It was like I wanted more of it because I felt so good, right? And so it never was like, oh, I'm missing out partying, or I'm missing out what other people are doing, or it was like, and then of course I had fair share in college or whatever, but it was more about that's what my focus I wanted, and that's what I wanted to dedicate my life on. I never saw it as a sacrifice.
And so your worldview is what has shaped your ability to perform at a high level, at least inside the Stark ecosystem, which is where I observe you, where I see you. I'm sure it affects all sorts of other parts of your personal life as well. But you have a desire to push forward, and your peers generally don't. There's fear of burnout with almost all young men, and you don't. You have enthusiasm for personal and professional growth. All of your people say that they want growth, but without the sacrifice. It's interesting to me because you are pursuing professional and personal development because it's exciting to you. And my perception of you from the outside is that you're tired sometimes. Sometimes you push up against burnout, but generally you seem present, full of energy, and able to focus, and you push yourself really hard. You work really, really hard. What words of wisdom would you pass along to young men that are really struggling, young men especially that are, let's say, 20 to 35? That's kind of the category or age range of people that are really kind of feeling like they have to slug it out every day, and they're not fulfilled, and they're suffering with depression and anxiety.
The biggest thing that has helped me in general is actually just gratitude. That's probably one of the biggest habits that I've developed in my life. Before I open the doors of Stark, I just think of maybe just a few things that I'm grateful for. Usually it's more of like, I get to do what I love.
How frequently do you do that? Like when you open the door, this is your habit.
I probably would say every day before. It's kind of a habit. It's like my little walkway to the door. It's just kind of, it's almost like I don't even think about it anymore. It's just like kind of like, it just kind of comes to me. It's just like, and that's what kind of puts a smile on my face before I walk into the door. And then I think that just type of enthusiasm, like, oh, I get to do this. And I see it as more as play. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not like I have to do it. We don't have to do anything.
Everything, huh?
Right. It's like, but we get to.
You're right. We don't have to do anything.
Right.
We don't have to do anything.
And so I think that's what just brings me a lot of joy, and just a lot of ease too. Right. And when it comes, life is inevitably will bring about anxiety and stress. But I think if you just have that foundation that, like, also you don't need anything else to complete you, I guess, maybe that you are whole and that you have everything. Like that's the power of gratitude. That is so
And
huge.
that some of that way of thinking stems from your yoga background a little bit, or not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so. Yeah, I think developing some more of that, that spiritual kind of pursuit that yoga kind of helped satisfy that for me. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think it's one of the greatest things about yoga,
yeah,
the community, and just learning how to be
yeah,
and be present, which is
sure.
where life is.
Yeah,
I heard, I can't remember the speaker, listen to somebody speak about anxiety and depression. And it was something like if you're constantly thinking in the future, you're full of anxiety. If you're constantly thinking about the past, you're depressed.
yeah.
And to be present is really the target.
Yep.
But it's difficult, right? It's a practice.
It's very much a practice, and it's not that your anticipation of the future isn't there, or your reminiscing of the past isn't there.
Yeah.
But you've practiced enough to at least see those thoughts, and again, those thoughts have a less impact on you, and you create those space and live more into the present moment, right? And then those thoughts that typically do take you into the future that create that anxiety is not quite there. It doesn't have that much pull, or those thoughts that
Doesn't have the same kind of power over you.
Right. Yeah. In those thoughts of reminiscing and thinking about the past of like, oh, I'm a failure. Those are the things I did, or maybe that's what someone did to me 20 years ago. I won't ever, let that go. Or, those thoughts have less influence on you, I would say. Right.
So wise.
Yeah.
So wise. Thank you so much for joining. Really, this has been great. If you'd like to learn more about Stark, you can find us at stark.health. That's stark.health.